Hi there, and welcome to another episode of A Lawyer and a Therapist talking about mental health in the legal profession. With me, I've got Mike, and he's a lawyer, and I'm Peter, I'm the therapist. Mike has worked in law all his career and is now promoting himself as lawyering while human. And you're running, I believe, Mike, a website called the Good Men Project. And I am a psychologist. I'm originally from Denmark. I've worked in industry for about 40 years as something else, but always been interested in people. And now I'm a psychologist and a coach working predominantly with lawyers. Our topic today is working from home or hybrid working for lawyers. The working from home thing is not new. It's been around for a long time, especially in IT. But there was something called a COVID pandemic, and we were all forced to go home and do our work from our bedrooms and kitchens and wherever else we could. And we're still talking about whether the working from home model or hybrid model, office and work from home, is a good thing, a bad thing, or something in between. So, Mike, what's your experience with the working from home?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be any and all of those things. I think it kind of depends on the person and where they are in life and how they're implementing it. And I think uh, it's definitely here to stay, in my
Mhm.
view, in some some form or fashion. This hybrid work, because I think companies are realizing that it can be powerful. They look back and see, well, hours were probably even up when they were dreading losing lots of money. It didn't work out that way. And I know that there are statistics which we can talk about that cut both ways. But many people like having the ability to work from home some days and be flexible and do things in life. So I think companies are struggling with sort of how to best balance it, and I think people are also struggling with how to best balancing it. For companies, it's how do we instill a culture and mentor people and make sure that the work is getting done, and those are, I think, the things they think about. And for people, right now I'm hybrid. I'm going into the office 2 days a week, and I'm home the other days. And it's how do you make sure the work is getting done? For me, I often enjoy working from home, but there are, I think, issues that come up. I think some of them intersect with mental health. We're social beings. You want to make sure you're seeing people. But in many ways, for me, cutting out my commute on New Jersey Transit, has been very positive for my mental health. So
Yeah,
it's a mixed bag.
it is a mixed bag, and I think now the novelty value of working from home is wearing off, and we're walking slowly but surely into what I can see is a big bear trap, trying to replace the old one size fits all 9 to 5 in the office with a new one size fits all hybrid model.
Mm.
And it's not going to work because you are at your stage in your life where 2 days at home, the rest of the days in the office work fine for you. That may be completely different to somebody else. From a psychological perspective, I know that we need human interaction. Studies will say that we need 6 hours of human interaction per day to function as a human being. It's great from a study, and it probably works for most people, but some will need more, some will need less. Um, we have different things going on in our lives where working from home will be a godsend or it will be hell on earth. So we have to match the personal and emotional needs and wants with the business requirements. We shouldn't forget that this is about running a business. And we were all in the office before it was dead easy. We could say, right, he or she turns up at 9 and leaves at 5. Well, that's what the contract says, but I know in the legal profession that's gone out the window a long time ago, with enormous pressure. So at home, we can probably spread it out a little bit more, but we have commitments like client meetings, deadlines, that sort of thing. So how are we going to deal with that?
Yeah, and I think when I think about that 6 hours of human interaction, does this count? We're on Zoom, we're interacting in a human way, or is
It
this sort of different?
does. It does actually. It does not have to be warm body with next to warm bodies. It can be through a screen and a camera, like we do now. However, there is a difference in quality, and again, each individual is affected differently. And I know that women in particular feel very self-conscious about the on-screen presence. They feel they're being judged on their looks, and they are not particularly keen on being on camera all the time.
Yeah, well, I think it is for humans, it's an unusual thing. It's different than being physically interacting, just staring at the
It is.
person the
Yes.
whole time, or all the people. It
Yeah,
is different even when I
totally
think about
different. Yeah. But I now do most of my work online, and in therapy, it works as well online as it does in person. And some clients refuse to do online, and others are quite happy. So we are all different.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. There are certain tasks that really are solitary tasks, and it really depends on your practice. For me, if I'm writing a brief or reading and analyzing, a patent, because I do intellectual property law, or working on an agreement, that's not a hugely social task, right? I need to take that
No.
time and get some quiet, and I'm just as happy doing it, here at home. I do agree about the quality of interaction, and that it is meaningful to get in the same room as people. I also agree that it's very powerful to, be able to meet people on Zoom. It can really accelerate things. For example, we met on LinkedIn, and now we're on Zoom, and now we're collaborating and
Yes.
creating something together. So I do see both sides of it. I think I think what people have to think about when I think about sort of the lawyering while human, and the quality of life, and how we're going to navigate this in a good way. I think about, well, what do we have to really be intentional about thinking about? And for me, I think I'm a pretty extroverted person. I really like human contact, and sometimes being at home can be isolating. And like you said, it depends where you are in your life, right? My kids are now just both going off to college. My girlfriend, who I live with, is going to the office a lot of days. So for me, it's here and it's quiet. And some
Mm-hmm.
people kill for that, right? The people with little kids, and all sorts of noise and distractions and things in the background. But for me, my issue, and I think the issues are different for everyone, but my issue is, wow, it's like I'm just kind of here by myself. And if I don't think about it, I can just sit here by myself day after day and work and work and work, and there's no real
Yes. Yeah.
boundaries. So for me, it's like planning to get out. It's almost like I'm going to schedule in my calendar, like I'm going to go out and go to the
Yeah.
gym, or I'm going to go out. Like this week, I actually started doing this new thing that I hope to do. I'm going to go for a walk with my friend in the morning. At 8 a.m, we're going to walk for an hour and just walk and talk and have
Mm-hmm.
in-person time.
Yeah.
But I think it varies and differs depending on the person, kind of what the needs are.
That sounds like a very good start to the day, Mike. Walk and talk.
Thanks.
What why not? It's good interaction, it's good exercise. And you hit on a very good point there. We need interaction, and depending on where we are in our lives. So if in your career you've just started out, you're a new graduate, you are new in the firm, how do you get to learn things if you work from home? How do you understand how business works if you're not there, but if you sit at home with a brief and just doing your document checking and looking and thinking you're doing a good job if you've got no one to ask? One of the things I've noticed about remote working is the spontaneity has disappeared. We don't just anymore rock up at somebody's desk and ask a question during an interruption. No, we book time to talk to each other. We ask, is it convenient to talk? Can I have some online time with you? We don't just pick up the phone either and just ring. We ask permission. So we have become far more conscious of other people's time. And I think that's probably not the best way to go completely, because where's the spontaneity? Where's the on the spot answer to a question?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And I think for a young person, to me, I think the answer you might get is, well, we can learn how to write a brief. We can watch a video that's going to teach me how to play guitar or do anything these days. I can learn it. But the thing that's really missing is, I think, the people part of it, right? And the people part of business, the human network, and what are people working on, and what's coming down the pike. Like, you only get those things by talking to people, and that's what's so important for your career advancement. Like, of course, I'm not saying the substantive skills aren't important, but and of course, for me, learning those from people, it's I think easier than learning them from books. But there's an aspect that's just not watch a video or read a book about it. It's the fact that we do business as people, and we understand, you know, who people are talking to, what they're doing. And that's hugely important to career. So I think it's a really good point. And the point about, you know, interruptions and breaks and kind of walking down the hall and, you know, having the discussion by the water cooler, you know, that's also where a lot of like creativity happens, right? It's in the breaks.
Correct.
It's like the cross fertilization. And that's something that we're talking about and struggling, like in our group, like in our IP group during one of our meetings, you know, we said like, hey, we're missing that. We're not together every day anymore. And so please, you know, don't even think about it. Pick up the phone, you know, call me. And, but you're right. Like we still have to get past that because it's not quite the same. But we're trying to urge those types of interrupting interactions almost because they are so valuable.
I think your whole industry and any industry probably are working hard to get used to this remote working, this hybrid model, where it becomes a normal thing. And I think instead of insisting on, as I said before, the one size fits all, because it's a nice administrative concept, I think every organization, every firm will have to create their own model, speak to the employees, everyone in the business, high, low, and medium, what works for you, and then create something that looks like it will serve most purposes well, the business purposes and the human purposes, and then review it after 6 months. And if it works, you carry on. If it doesn't work, talk about it as you go along and adapt and amend. Because when we are employed, when we are in service, our life goes on and our needs may suddenly change. And what was great for you yesterday or last week may not be great for you next month because something has happened.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think, yeah, the way forward here is experimentation and trial and error, and also listening to people, like really being open to different concepts. Because I think even people who, you know, wish we could go back to the old days, I think often have a very rosy picture of the old days that doesn't necessarily align with reality. Like, you know, in the old days, you know, when you had to stay back in the office and wait for the partner to look at your thing and then come back and stay late and miss things, not be able to shop, not be able to be there for you know, your kid's thing. Like you're probably distracted and maybe not doing work as well. So I really do think that if we can do this well, and I, you know, and it's hard to balance, of course, like the business objectives and everyone's particular working styles. But you know, everyone, we're all adults. You know, we all want to do a good job, and so I think having that sort of open, let's sort of be flexible and figure this out, I think does kind of serve, you know, the individuals and the business, you know, at the same time.
I think you make a very interesting point there, Mike, by pointing out everybody's individual working style. That was never being considered in the office 9 to 5 model, but now it is being considered. So in a sense, we have gone and complicated things a little bit more, which human beings are very good at. But we have also opened up the opportunities to get more from people without squeezing them harder. So if you want to work on something in the middle of the night at 2 a.m, you're free to do so, as long as you are still able to attend that meeting at noon or whatever.
Right, exactly.
But we have a different outlook on what it means going to work these days for those of us who have jobs where we can work from home. Obviously, those who work machines and operate equipment can't do that.
Yeah, very true.
You mentioned a couple of things that you've done, such as walking in the morning and having a conversation with another human being. Are there any tricks and tips you can give us before we let people off from their coffee break here?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have nearly all the answers. I can just say kind of what I'm doing, and hopefully other people can share what they're doing, because I'm just one person. But you know, I've also started just scheduling in that sort of break time, even into my calendar. You know, things that I need to do for myself. You know, if I have to run to the store, you know, I'll block out a half-hour time and not just sort of squeeze it in between. That just helps me to be more intentional about that.
Yeah.
And I think for me also just making sure that I am doing social things, especially on my work from home days. So for example, you know, because I think otherwise I can just be too solitary and just roll back into the next day. And then, and I think we all know the tendency after a couple of years of COVID, you know, in the evening, you know, we get happy at home, we're tired, we eat dinner, there's Netflix, there's a couch. So I'm trying to do things like see people, do a
Yeah.
book club or go out and be really intentional about that, like the walking thing I mentioned. Those are things that I'm trying to do, knowing kind of what my needs and tendencies are. Those are just a few little things.
I think those are extremely useful ideas to give other people. And especially we have to be intentional about what we do, intentional about working, intentional about not working, and then with the right intentions, finding something else to distract you from work and give you energy to go back to work, so that work gives you energy to do other things in your spare time.
Yeah.
It's been great hearing your thoughts on this, Mike, and I hope that everyone watching this will also put their thoughts and comments in the relevant boxes on LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you find them. And Mike and I will be back with another episode of A Lawyer and a Therapist Talking Mental Health in the Legal Profession. Take care, and thank you for watching.